Hi everyone, this is Mate, it's okay?
And this is Norbert Kovac.
This is actually a special edition. This is the miner review. So we have here with us on our computer Scott Fargo, who is a well-known guy in the Bitcoin mining industry. He has done tons of reviews for Bitcoin miners, and he knows a lot about cloud contracts as well. So he will be here with us today to do the Spondoolies stack SP20 review. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Scott. How you doing?
Hi, how are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Yep.
So we have the SP20 here. We haven't opened it up because we wanted to do a little unboxing as well. So let me guys unbox this machine, and while I'll do that, you can talk about the specifications.
Sounds great.
Excellent.
For me. Sounds great for me. Oh, well, actually, that's a 1.7 terahashes device, plus minus 10%, as far as I know. And it consumes around, I don't know, like 1,200 watts from the wall. And you are already mining with these devices, so I will give you the word to continue on the specs of the miner now.
Yes, and one of the things about these about the SP20s is they actually use 8 of the their new Rockerbox chips. The nice thing about these is they only pull about 0.063 volts to 0.63 volts to 0.8 volts per chip, which is nice, so that it gives you a lot of headroom. With these, you're actually able to push them up to 1.7 terahash.
Well, sorry, Scott, but just to present it to our viewers, it's really well packed. So you have all these foam pads just to make sure you don't get any broken device, just like the KNC shipped out. You can make sure Spondoolies stack does good care of those devices. So we have this nice little unit out here. Looks new. They haven't mined with it. This is a really important point. These guys would never do it. So. Smells good. All right. We'll have the power supply unit here, so we'll heat it up when you guys are over with the specifications.
I'm quite sure that Scott is really in the details of the specs. So what do you think that I will start to light it up and you'll finish up the specs? How does it
Excellent.
sound?
That sounds great. They're actually made on the 28 nanometer process node, which is pretty good for the chip size, considering that we started out, 110 meter and then down to 5 nanometer or 55 nanometer, and we had the next couple editions have been at 28 nanometer. They've really been working to optimize their Rockerbox chips, but they also do more than just with the chips. They also work on optimizing the software and the driver layers between them so that they really can push these chips and get the most out of them. Their actual one of their techs, Zvisha, he does an excellent job. We were actually working on the SP20 that I received, and I had him come in. We kind of team viewered in together, and we were able to go over the specs. He was able to go over everything from the minute usage details to right down to disabling ASICs if they weren't running well or running noisy, to actually increase the power to the other ones, which was really nice that you have the headroom like that and the ability to do it. On the tech spec side, right here, it's been pulling about 1,240 watts at the wall continuous. I have had some spikes that get close to 1,300, but it usually didn't stay there. And it mined right around 1.5 to 1.7 terahash, which is nice. So I was only running it off one EVGA 1,300 watt supernova power supply. So that actually, I have room for more headway if I add another power supply there. But the specs are really nice as well. The ambient temperature they can run at is anywhere from freezing on up to about 35 degrees Celsius. So you have a nice range in there of where it can run and run optimum.
I wanted to tell a little bit about how important this device is to the Bitcoin mining industry, because the SP20 is basically for the home miners. The whole industry is moving towards the cloud hashing, and the Spondoolies stack aim was to bring back these units to the households, and this is exactly what it does with its 1.7 terahash. And it's really important to talk about because the whole Bitcoin mining ecosystem is started off with home miners. And we all know that because of the power consumptions and the technology, how it all develops, it will be really hard to keep these units in your house. But this is a great possibility to to have it a little bit more running in your basement, for example.
Definitely. I'm not sure on the fan noise on yours, but the fan noise that I actually got on the one here, it didn't have the high pitch whine that you heard initially with the SP10. They had fixed that with the SP30. Well, with the SP20 here, it didn't. You didn't have the high pitch whine. The fan was quite a bit quieter, which was nice. That's the main thing. Is you have a nice little bit that Marshall told you about. You know, all the noise and the heat.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. Marshall Long, a good friend of mine back in the US. I met him at the first ever mining conference that was put together by Hashers United, and he had a speech about Bitcoin mining, and everyone basically loved his story. Just to sum it up, he said that mining at your home is basically a device factor. Bringing a miner home is makes you sleep on the couch, because for sure your wife will tell you to stop using those miners, because it's a nice thing that it heats up your house, obviously, but the noise factor is killing your marriage. So he actually said it's the divorce factor. So home mining could be the divorce factor. I really liked his story. But this is definitely for sure. I remember our first miners. It was a custom-made miner we bought from Germany.
Yeah.
When we put those miners together, we couldn't even hear our own thoughts. So this is definitely a place to put is the basement.
Well, actually,
Yes.
with our first miners, we are talking about hundreds of 12 centimeters fans. So that's quite that's quite a tough one. But I'm quite sure that according to the size of the fans on this device, it's going to sound totally different, like the SP10 sounded before. So I'm quite sure that the divorce factor is not that hard on that one.
Yes, the Spondoolies guys took a good care of that one as well. So Norby, why don't you go and light it up, just to hear a little bit from this machine, how it sounds, and then we can go over some other parts of the device, because as far as I know, Scott tear his machine down, so he will talk a little bit about the board and the chip specifications.
Well, actually, I will just give this device a shot. Well, actually, it's not plugged in the internet at the moment, so I will just give it a shot to start up and to hear the fans and things like that. And of course, after that, we'll put in that thing on mining, right? I'm quite sure that this is the loudest part, but
Right, so it's up and running. Can you hear it, Scott?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
that's quite important.
I think we can switch it off now.
Yeah.
So the device
Yeah.
does work.
Yeah.
And one of the things about that too, though, is once it does start mining and the controller kicks on, it actually does spin the fan down a little bit, so it's not quite as loud normally, unless your ambient temperature gets up there in the 30 to 38 range. So then the fan will kick up all the way, but it's not as bad. If we all remember, turning on the SP10, it was enough to make you run out the door sometimes, even though it was a nice, powerful miner. That nice data center power supply whine was kind of annoying.
Well, it was really loud, but it was data center ready, so
Yes.
no wonder why it was loud. No one cares about sound barriers in the data center, so it can be understandable, of course.
Yeah, of course. But this miner, it mostly sounds like the small end miners. So one big fan, as I can see and as I can hear. So it's pretty good for your basement mining, I guess. So, but Scott did actually exploded his one from the SP10. So, what do you think? What you find inside?
Well, a couple of the different things that I found inside. One of the first things is their custom controller board. Instead of being, the typical Raspberry Pi or BeagleBone that you find in a lot of the different miners now, Spondoolies Tech takes that extra step to really actually go forward, and they custom build their controller boards, and they work very hard on the software to make sure that they can get the most out of them that you can get. So I'll kind of get this up here for you to get a really good look at it.
Thank you.
The main thing with this is you'll notice that this one is set up to only control 2 of the boards. Each of the boards actually has 4 of the Rockerbox ASIC chips in it, which works out rather well. On this board, you'll see that they actually have an SD card slot so that you can actually do a recovery, but it doesn't run off an SD card. The firmware is actually hard-coded into the system, which is another nice little effect, because if you've ever had in an S4 or an S2 had a BeagleBone go bad, you can't just buy one off the shelf and plug it in, because you need to have the firmware from Antminer, Bitmain and Antminer, to actually put in there to make it boot off the SD card every time. So this is a good improvement as well. They also have the serial connection as well as an Ethernet connection on these boards. The reason is from what I understand, is so that you can chain them together. I haven't actually had enough of them together, or enough of them in a room together to actually chain them together and test that. So, but they definitely build them with the data centers in mind. But these are definitely built more to get them in people's homes. They can put them in the garages, the basements, maybe if you have a library or somewhere where you won't bug the wife to the point where she draws up divorce papers. The boards themselves are fairly heavy duty, as far as you're not going to see like a lot of the scrap capacitors and resistors and stuff that you see out of some of the other manufacturers, because I know that a lot of us have seen some of the ASIC miner tubes and the ASIC miner Prismas, and you can tell that some of the the capacitors and whatnot are definitely used on them. With Spondoolies, everything seems to be the top, the best quality that you can get, which is really nice here. And they're a heavy unit for just being 4 chips per board. You're going to notice that they have nice heavy heat sinks on them, and each one is separate, so that again goes towards helping to optimize the cooling of each process or each chip bank. The reason for this is, from what I see, is because if you have one large slab of a heat sink, and especially if your ASICs, where you can tune these to each ASIC a little bit different if you need to, or even turn them off, what happens with these is you're able to turn one off and not actually impact the cooling of the other chips on the board. So this is pretty nice, and I'm going to ask Visha and Guy from Spondoolies about this to get a little bit more insight onto it, because they've done this with all of their miners so far, and with the individual heat sinks instead of the big slab heat sinks. So
you said you have tested those SP20s. Can you tell us a little bit about the results of those tests and
yes,
performance that basically on the long term?
Yes, what I did is I had I ran it on a BTC Guild. I also ran it on a new pool, which is BTC Pool Party, and this is a fully audited pool that they just started up, so I ran it on there. And I hate Ghash. Sorry, I have to say it, because just they've been a little way too shady in the past, but I run it on there as well, just to make sure that I'm getting a good mix of different pools. Each pool I ran for either 12 to 24 hours on. On average, the best pool was actually BTC Guild. You're going to want to manually set your worker, just to ease up on some of the network traffic a little bit. So manually set your worker to 1024, and I was getting between 1.5 to 1.7 terahash on this consistently. Usually hung right around the 1.6 to 1.67 range, which was nice on BTC Guild. BTC Pool Party, it actually stuck right about 1.7 to 1.72, which was really nice. And again, that's a brand new pool. Ghash was again in the range, but that was the range that it actually hung more towards the 1.5 to 1.6 terahash range. So the BTC Guild seems to have the best overall usability right now. I know that BTC Pool Party is actually bringing some more features in, and G hash is what it is. It has some of the, it adjusts fairly well. The temperature range on this, now that it's getting cold where I am, this actually stayed very, very cool. I had the inlet temperature was literally at 0 degrees Celsius here where I live, because
I really
it is.
hope you will be able to put it back together and mine with it again.
Yes, I've actually taken it apart and put it back together before when I was going over it with Zvisha and Guy. So yeah, it's one of those things. I try to talk to them at Spondoolies quite a bit and make sure that I've doing everything properly. But
right,
yes,
just for the users, please guys, don't take this machine apart because you use your warranty. So you don't have to take it apart. Scott has already turned it down for you, and just leave it as it is and mine with it.
Yeah,
yes,
Scott
although if there is one note, if for some reason the boards, when you get the SP20, if the boards are loose, it's only 6 screws. You can take the 6 screws off the case, and then there's 6 more screws that hold a plate that holds a controller board on. Carefully pick that up. You can reseat. They slide into little slots. Reseat the boards. The plate goes back down. You can screw it back on, and then the cover. So it's a very simple setup. It's not like some of the ones that we're used to, where it's 1,000 screws and 20 different layers. This was very well put together, so that people at home can easily use these, even if they have to do something like shift the boards. As I don't know about how shipping is over there, but over here, FedEx likes to use boxes that size for football practice, I think. So, but it is a note. It is something that's simple that the Spondoolies has worked hard on this. I like the design. I think they've done a really good job with it. The way that the fan draws the heat, or draws the air over the heat sinks, is really nice too. It gets the heat out of there quickly and efficiently without having to use something that's so loud and so industrial that you can't even have it in your basement.
Do you have any news from the Spondoolies guys? Is there any information? I know quite a few, of course, but is there any information that you can share with us and with Bitcoinist viewers? What's the next generation, and maybe a little secrets that can be told?
Mm-hmm. I actually do, and I have some notes here that I'll pull right up. One of the things I actually have an interview that'll be coming out on a couple websites with you guys as well, with Guy from Spondoolies. And one of the things that we discussed was the next generation stuff. And one of the things that they're going to be doing is...
Just for our viewers, Guy Coram is the CEO of Spondoolies.net. He's the guy why this company runs really well. And Scott and I both had the opportunity to meet him. He's a really nice guy. And we're keeping really close connection to make sure we have the latest news. So please go on.
Definitely. And Guy is really good about discussing a lot of this stuff. Couple of the different things. One of the things that they're actually going to be shooting for next year is the 16 nanometer, which he started to let people know that a little bit. But when the 16 nanometer comes out, one of the things that's going to happen is it's going to be a 2-pronged approach. It's not going to be just the die shrink and some of the changes to that. It's also going to be another major shift internally that we don't normally see. We only see the results of, but with the software even being more refined and being able to get the most out of these chips, so that it's going to be kind of a 2-pronged approach. Another thing that they're actually working on, and I'm going to bring some news about that as Guy and I talk over the next couple of days, is that one of the things that we discussed earlier was pool centralization, where we have a lot of pools and that are growing very large, and now we're having it where a lot of cloud hashing is going on, where it's not as easy to mine at home. So you're going to see, fewer and fewer miners like the SP20 coming out, where you can plug it in at home and easily run at home. So as we're moving to the cloud, one of the things a lot of people are worried about are Ponzi schemes, or do these companies actually have the hashing rate that they say they do? Well, one of the things that Guy and his team at Spondoolies are working on with a couple other people is a bit to put in the chips that will actually allow you to set the contracts and for that chip. So if I buy a contract for, say, 1 terahash from a company that's using a Spondoolies chip, or he's going to possibly open source this, which is even better, because Spondoolies really believes in the whole ecosystem of open source and making sure that people aren't being shady to their customers. What he's thinking of doing is taking this chip they're already developing, but it's still, in the offing. Whether it's going to make it into the next generation or two, we're not sure yet. What this will do is allow you, the cloud hashing owner, to sell a contract for 1 terahash. The customer gets that 1 terahash contract, and on the chip, in the chip and in the software, is going to be something that will actually show that you have that 1 terahash. They could set in a start and end date if you want it to have a start and end date, as opposed to being a lifetime contract. And then it will verify that you've got that actual power. They can't sell that power if it's not there. You have that power, and it's a verification so that there's not going to be any shadiness going on. So one of the big stories about this is the fact that Guy really believes in mining. He really believes in the open source movement, is the fact that he would like to open source this if they can go far enough with it and get other companies and other manufacturers to adopt it. So when you see a company like Bitfury, or even worse, KNC Miner, who's building out these big systems that are there, and then they're trying to sell the hash power to you, is it really there? This is going to allow verification.
That's right now the biggest concern in the cloud hashing.
That's something that the industry really needs right
yes.
now. That the proof that the cloud mining capacity is there and it's working for you.
Exactly, and Spondoolies Tech seeing this and seeing where it's going, to actually be working on something to protect the consumers, it's amazing. It's a really good thing. It's good for customers. It's good for the industry, and I think that other manufacturers should pick it up once Spondoolies gets a little farther into it. So this is something that they're just starting to work on. So he's going to keep me up to date and give us time frames on it as they go. But this is something that's definitely needed. There's so many questions about so many companies in the cloud mining industry, and a lot of them we know about, but some of them we don't. So this is going to help give a better verification. It's going to help keep the industry honest, and it's actually going to give a simple way for both the cloud hashing service itself to say, hey, here's your contract. This is all set up. These chips are going to respond specifically to you, and your contract's locked in. It can't be fiddled with, and there's no cooking the books.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for all those information, Scott. And thank you for being our guest for the Spondoolies SP20 review. Scott will have a lot more on Bitcoinist.net in the near future. He will be managing our mining news from now on, so we're really excited about that. And hopefully to see a lot more reviews like this, and make sure that we can test these miners at home and have that plugin in your household. And thanks again for being here with us today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I'll have some of I'll actually be testing some of the bigger miners as well. So I have the wiring here for it. So it's going to be interesting in the coming weeks and months, and I look forward to it. And thanks for having me on today.
Thank you, Scott. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that was it for today. Sorry it went a little bit longer than we thought, but Scott had a lot of information to tell us. So, but that's a good thing, of course.
Yeah, it was
we're
quite
looking
necessary.
for the next reviews from him. He is a well-respected guy in the ecosystem and knows a lot about mining, so he knows what he's talking about. That's one of the main reasons we're having him on the Bitcoinist.net team. And thanks again for watching, and keep reading Bitcoinist.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.